Nearly 2 years after special counsel Robert Mueller began his investigation of Russian meddling into the 2016 election, the public will see his final report today. And after 6 months without a federal disaster relief bill following Hurricane Michael, one Panama City, Florida group decided to take matters in their own hands. The barrage of boulders and rocks pulverized several parked cars just moments after some drivers stepped out.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Taylor Upchurch. Today is Thursday, April 18th. Let's check in with Brandon Robinson for a look at your forecast this morning. Brandon, you've got some pretty good news for folks today.
Yeah, it's going to be a fairly nice day across the region. More clouds later today, but the sunshine should still be around in limited form today. And temperatures very mild. Let's take a tour on Live Pinpoint Doppler radar this morning first, though, as we take a look over into Southwest Virginia. A couple of showers trying to get their act to go together over there in Wise County near Norton, but everything kind of moving out at the moment, so a little bit of sprinkles are possible early this morning. Also some down near Lake Cumberland, out toward the western half of the area, not quite into Wayne County just yet. Temperature is very mild, 50s, 60s, and close to 70 out toward Logan, so not too bad. A little breeze there starting to blow this morning coming in from the south, and we're going to see that southerly flow bring us up in temperatures once again today as we see temperatures top out right there around 82 this afternoon. I'll have the rest of the forecast on the way here in just a few minutes. Taylor?
All right, thank you, Brandon. Nearly 2 years after special counsel Robert Mueller began his investigation of Russian meddling into the 2016 election, the public will see his final report today. CBS's Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill with the details on its release.
President Trump says he's confident ahead of today's release of Robert Mueller's nearly 400-page report.
This should never happen to a president or to this country again, what took place. And you'll see a lot of very strong things come out tomorrow.
A redacted version will be made public this morning.
We will provide explanatory notes describing the basis for each redactions.
Just before its release, Attorney General William Barr is expected to hold a news conference.
He has briefed the White House on the report.
House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler accuses Barr of covering for President Trump and says he will spin the report's findings.
Attorney General Barr is not allowing the facts of the Mueller report to speak for themselves, but is trying to bake in the narrative about the report to the benefit of the White House.
Barr released a 4-page summary of the report last month. In it, he said Mueller found no evidence of coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia, but Mueller did not make a conclusion on whether the president had obstructed justice, leaving that to Barr, who determined Mr. Trump had not.
American voters might feel differently. Congress might feel differently.
Former Acting Assistant Attorney General Mary McCord says the public will soon be able to make its own judgments.
There's a whole lot of daylight in between nothing happened and a crime was committed.
CBS News has learned the president's personal attorneys have been working on a counter report that's been in the works for months. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Shortly after Barr's news conference, the report will be delivered to Congress on CDs and posted on the special counsel's website for the public. The Attorney General says he's redacted grand jury material, information that could impact ongoing investigations, classified material, and evidence against people not criminally charged. And Attorney General William Barr is trying to put an end to the catch and release policies for immigrants seeking asylum. Barr's decision says asylum seekers who are determined to have credible fear will no longer be eligible to be released on bond while waiting a court hearing. The ruling only applies to asylum seekers who enter the country illegally, not those who apply for asylum at a port of entry. It does not affect unaccompanied children or families.
It'd be a lot easier if Congress would get together and the Democrats would agree to get rid of these loopholes.
The new rules will not go into effect for 90 days, so the CBP can work out the logistics of holding thousands of immigrants for months on end. And severe weather is again gripping parts of the U.S. As CBS News' Laura Podesta explains, many areas in the Midwest and Plains slammed last week are again being targeted by Mother Nature.
Large hail pounded the ground overnight in Lindsay, Texas, about 60 miles north of Fort Worth. It was strong enough to break windshields. American Airlines and Southwest canceled hundreds of flights in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as winds picked up.
I had to reschedule my flight, and now I have to do a stop in Las Vegas to then get to LA.
Further north in Oklahoma, this video from a storm chaser shows lightning streaking across the sky. Wind gusts in parts of Love County reached 58 miles per hour. This funnel cloud developed in the northwest part of the state.
Make sure that you have a plan. So if you're going to be out and about doing family things or whatever, that when something does happen, you know what you're going to do.
Authorities in Wisconsin urged residents to pay attention to alerts on their phones, on television, and on the radio, as possible tornadoes could hit the state. Meanwhile, more rain was not welcome in neighboring Minnesota, which has been dealing with mudslides along its highways. As the storm moves east, seen here passing the St. Louis Arch, it's expected to hit the Ohio Valley and deep south later today. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
U.S. scientists said in their spring weather outlook that 13 million people are at risk of flooding, with another 41 million people at risk of moderate flooding. And after 6 months without a federal disaster relief bill following Hurricane Michael, one Panama City, Florida group decided to take matters in their own hands. More than 150 members of Michael's Angels brought their voices and their blue tarps to Tallahassee Wednesday. The nonpartisan nonprofit group of women is calling on legislators for funding for communities that were devastated after the powerful storm.
It is time for some type of legislature, some type of help from our government, and for more assistance for our area.
Advocates for federal disaster supplemental funding say it's crucial in the rebuilding of Tyndall Air Force Base, housing and urban development and long-term community development of the Panhandle. Several attempts to pass such a disaster funding bill have died in Congress. Meanwhile, officials with FEMA say the amount of debris removed from Bay County, which is where Panama City is located, after Hurricane Michael is the largest removal in U.S. history for any disaster. The storm displaced about 20,000 people and generated about 17 million cubic yards of debris. When all is said and done, the county will be responsible for about 80 million of the $661 million of estimated damage. President Trump has approved a major disaster declaration for dozens of Kentucky counties. Governor Bevin requested federal assistance for 58 counties after flooding in February. The governor says the water left about $41 million in damage. The president's declaration means those areas will receive money to rebuild or replace areas damaged by flooding and mudslides. A barrage of boulders and rocks pulverized several parked cars just moments after some drivers stepped out. It was lunchtime in Logan, West Virginia, when several Walmart employees heard shattering glass and metal crunching as boulders crushed 3 parked cars in a parking lot. 2 employees had just left their car when Mother Nature struck. Witnesses calling this quite the close call.
We've had a rock slide before. You always are concerned when you have to park this close to the rocks. It's always kind of scary when you think about it.
Yeah, but you never really actually think it's gonna
happen to you.
Yeah.
Employees are hoping that at least some warning signs or safety nets will be installed in the future. As donations pour in towards Notre Dame restoration efforts, French President Emmanuel Macron vows to rebuild the 12th century landmark in 5 years. For now, it's still not safe for investigators to get inside to search for the cause, but authorities say it's a miracle that so many treasures were saved.
Paintings, chairs, armchairs, and objects, candle holders.
The 5-year plan for rebuilding the famed cathedral coincides with the Summer Olympics in 2024, when millions of tourists are expected to visit the French capital. A suspect is behind bars after reportedly trying to bring gas cans into St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York. Officials say he was stopped by church ushers Wednesday night and later detained by police. No one was injured. News reports say he tried to bring 2 canisters inside, but it's still unclear why. This happened just 2 days after a massive fire tore through Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris.
The forecast this morning starts off fairly nice. Not a whole lot going on just yet. Let's take a look at live pinpoint Doppler radar as we scan the skies. And again, a little bit of shower activity. Now a new one just popped up in parts of Mingo County in West Virginia there, but everything else is kind of moving out this morning. Stray showers possible the first half of your day, but I think the bulk of the rain holds off till overnight. Very mild this morning. 50s and 60s. Not a whole lot of 50s left either. Ashland, London, and Hazard this morning. Everybody else in the 60s. And across the state, that warm air firmly in place. So an iced coffee type day on the coffee meter. Almanac, 82 is our forecast high. We average 69 for this time of the year. The record of 88 set back on this day in 2002. Taylor?
Thanks for joining us on Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. UK hospital makes a touching gesture to the parents of a young boy who died but gave others the gift of life.